Okay, so we have our basic outline structure. And what we're going to do now is begin to set up our CSS. So let's begin with our HTML element. And we're going to set our font size in the HTML element. And we're going to set our font size to 16 pixels. And for most of this video series, we're going to work with the relative unit of rems. So we're going to establish the initial size of our font at 16. So at this point, 1 rem is 16 pixels. Okay, and we can set widths, heights, margin, padding, font sizes, whatever, using rems, which will be more flexible than using absolute values. So it's a good idea to start practicing with using your relative units of measure, and you could use ems, you can use rems. This demo we're going to use rems. Okay, we will use some absolute pixels also. All right, so we're setting our default font size here for HTML. Now let's go to the body of our document, and we will set our margin to 0 and our padding to 0, so our content can go right up to the edges of the browser window. And then let's drop down and let's use our universal selector, and we will add our box sizing border box. So box sizing border box. Okay. And I should be using these hints to help me close these so I don't have to type everything out. So now we have our universal selector with our modern CSS3 application of the CSS box model. So we don't have to do all the calculation of our margin, border, padding, and widths. We don't have to go back and adjust the widths for whatever margin, border, or padding we have added. CSS3 is going to do that for us now. Okay. All right, so the next step is let's go ahead and establish our div element, our main container. So we're going to target our div with our container, our class container. So dot container. And we're going to start off by setting the position of our container to relative. Okay. And then we will follow with our width. We're going to set the width to an absolute number for this demo. Let's go with 800 pixels. Now, if you wanted rem, just take 800, divide 800 by 16, and what you're returned would be your rem unit, if that's what you want to do. I'm going to set the height to auto, to automatically adjust. Okay, and we're going to set our margin. We're going to zero out our margin, and we will zero out our padding also. Now later on in some upcoming exercises, we'll start looking at resets. So we won't have to deal with zeroing out all of our different margins and paddings for our different elements. I tend to use Meyer reset, but there are other resets available. Matter of fact, I believe Codepen has a form of a reset, but I'm going to use Meyer reset. We'll talk about that more later, and that'll be a bit of a time saver also. So after the padding, let's add a border so we could see our container. So let's just do border. I'm going to go with 10 pixels. We'll do solid, and we'll have this be a light gray. I'm just going to call out the colors we're going to use for our border just to be faster. Okay, so let's go ahead and save. We'll do a preview, and you should see your border showing up right up here. Okay, let's go ahead and go back, and on our margin, let's now adjust our margin. Let's go with 2 rem on the top, auto on the right, 2 rem or root M on the left, and I'm sorry, on the bottom, and then we will do auto on the right. So now we're going to have some space created at the top of our container. Our auto on our right and our left will automatically center because they're going to calculate the margin on both sides. And then we're going to create 2 rem of space at the bottom. Okay. Now your border is still going to collapse because we have not placed anything inside, but you'll see what goes on here. All right, so there is our border being moved down 2 rem. We're automatically calculating the right and the left, and at one point we will always have 2 rem between the bottom of our div, our class container, and the bottom of our browser window. Okay. All right, so we have set up our main container. We'll continue in each video to set up the elements nested inside.